In the last few years, something surprising has been happening in Australia. People aren't just moving to the country anymore, they're moving out. Skilled workers, families, and even longtime citizens are packing up and leaving. Some head to the UK, others to Canada, and many to cheaper Asian countries like Thailand or Indonesia. Why? It's not because they hate Australia. Most love it deeply. But love doesn't always pay the bills. Behind the sunshine, the beaches, and the lucky country image, there's a silent frustration growing. Australia is becoming too expensive, too isolated, and too hard to build a stable future in. This is the side of Australia few outsiders ever see, the side that's quietly pushing people away. Australia looks like a dream on postcards. Wide beaches, clean cities, and a relaxed lifestyle. But for many people living there, that dream now costs more than ever. Rent prices in cities like Sydney and Melbourne have hit record highs. A simple one-bedroom apartment can cost more than what some people earn in a week. Groceries, electricity, and fuel, everything has gone up. Even eating out or going for a short road trip feels like a luxury now. Wages haven't kept up with inflation either. People are working harder, but their paychecks don't stretch as far. For international students and new immigrants, it's even tougher. They come believing in the Australian lifestyle, but soon realize most of their income disappears on rent and bills. Families are cutting back, skipping holidays, and dipping into savings just to stay afloat. It's not just the poor feeling the squeeze. Even middle-class Australians are struggling. The so-called comfortable life that once defined Australia is now slipping out of reach. And that's what's making people question whether the dream is still worth the cost. Australia's housing market has become one of the hardest in the world for ordinary people to break into. For decades, owning a home was seen as a basic goal, something anyone could achieve with a stable job and a bit of patience. But that idea doesn't hold up anymore. Today, the average home in Sydney costs over $1 million. Even smaller cities like Brisbane and Perth are catching up fast. For many young Australians, buying a house now feels like chasing a myth. They save for years, only to watch prices rise faster than their savings. Some end up renting for life, moving from place to place as landlords increase rent or sell properties. Others are forced far from city centers, spending hours commuting each day just to find something remotely affordable. Immigrants face an even tougher situation. Many arrive expecting that with hard work, they'll eventually settle down. But the housing market hits them like a wall. They're competing with locals, investors, and even foreign buyers who drive prices higher. Government assistance exists, but it barely scratches the surface of the problem. In reality, the average person doesn't have time for sunsets at the beach or long drives through the outback. They're too busy trying to make ends meet. And the longer they stay, the more they realize that Australia's famous work-life balance is less of a way of life and more of a luxury. Australia loves to promote the idea of balance, the laid-back lifestyle, the beach after work, the no-worries attitude. It's a big part of what draws people in. From the outside, it looks like the perfect mix of career and calm. But for many people who actually move here, that image doesn't match reality. The truth is, Australia's economy runs on hard work. Long hours, high competition, and constant pressure to keep up with the rising cost of living. Many new arrivals quickly realize that the work-life balance they saw online isn't something you're given. It's something you have to fight for. Jobs in big cities like Sydney and Melbourne pay well on paper, but the high taxes, rent, and daily expenses eat into nearly everything. Some people end up working 2 or 3 jobs just to stay afloat. For immigrants, it's even tougher. Many are overqualified for the roles they get, and spend years trying to climb back to where they were in their home country. Meanwhile, the culture of relaxation often hides quiet burnout. Australians might finish early on Fridays, but they also spend their weekends catching up on side hustles or preparing for the next week. The easygoing lifestyle exists, but mostly for those who can afford it. In reality, the average person doesn't have time for sunsets at the beach or long drives through the outback. They're too busy trying to make ends meet. And the longer they stay, the more they realize that Australia's famous work-life balance is less of a way of life and more of a luxury. For many who move to Australia, the biggest shock doesn't come from the beaches or even the heat. It comes from the cost of living. Australia's cities are among the most expensive in the world. Sydney and Melbourne often rank just behind London and New York in global cost indexes. Rent for a small apartment in Sydney can easily reach $700 to $900 a week. Even groceries, something as simple as bread, milk, and fruit, cost double what many migrants expect. This is where the dream begins to clash with reality. You'll hear people say Australia offers a better life, and that's true, but only if you can afford it. High wages make the economy look appealing, but much of that money disappears into housing, insurance, transport, and utilities. It's a country where earning $80,000 a year might sound good, until you realize how fast it vanishes after rent, taxes, and daily expenses. And it's not just about money. The job market itself can be incredibly competitive. Many newcomers discover that their overseas qualifications aren't fully recognized. Engineers, doctors, even teachers, people with decades of experience, often find themselves starting over in entry-level roles or completely unrelated jobs. It's a humbling and frustrating experience that no one warns you about. Then there's housing availability. Australia's property crisis is worsening every year. Demand far outstrips supply, pushing rent prices up and forcing many people to live hours away from the city centers where the jobs are. It's not uncommon to see people paying half their income just to keep a roof over their heads. This part of the story rarely makes it into the glossy immigration brochures. Behind every smiling photo of someone on Bondi Beach is a person quietly wondering if they can actually afford to stay. The reality is this: Australia's lifestyle is beautiful, but it comes at a cost. And that cost is rising faster than most people can keep up with. Australia's lifestyle looks peaceful from the outside. Blue skies, safe streets, friendly faces. But once you settle in, you start to notice the small, invisible struggles that wear people down over time. Let's start with isolation. Australia is huge and its cities are spread far apart. If you live outside major hubs like Sydney, Melbourne, or Brisbane, distances become part of daily life. A simple drive to work can take an hour each way, and public transport is often unreliable or limited. For newcomers without a car, even grocery shopping can feel like an expedition. Then there's the loneliness. It's one of the least talked about realities of migrating. Australians are polite but reserved, and social circles are often built around school, work, or long-term local friendships. Many new arrivals find it difficult to form meaningful connections, especially if they come from cultures that value close-knit communities. After a few months, that cheerful, fresh start feeling begins to fade into quiet isolation. Healthcare, while world-class, also has its frustrations. Appointments can take weeks to book, and specialists often charge hundreds of dollars per visit. For migrants without private insurance, costs can quickly spiral. Even basic dental work can set you back thousands. And weather, while often sunny, brings its own extremes. Summer heat waves can last for weeks with temperatures reaching over 40 degrees Celsius, while bushfire smoke turns the sky orange. For people who come from cooler or more temperate regions, this isn't just uncomfortable, it's overwhelming. Then there's the work-life balance paradox. Australia is often praised for its relaxed lifestyle, but in reality, most people work long hours just to maintain it. Two incomes are almost always necessary to survive in the cities. Parents barely see their kids during the week. Overtime is common. By the time you can afford to enjoy the lifestyle you came for, the beaches, the barbecues, the holidays, you're often too exhausted to do so. This is the side of Australia few people talk about online. The hidden burnout beneath the sunshine. The unspoken reality that the easy life isn't easy at all. It's earned, often at the cost of time, rest, and connection. There's something most people don't realize until after they've unpacked their bags and settled in. Australia is not the paradise it looks like online. It's a trade-off. For everything you gain, something else quietly slips away. No one tells you that the cost of belonging here can feel impossibly high. You might come chasing stability, but you'll often find yourself questioning your place in a system built around self-sufficiency. There's little government support for newcomers, and without family nearby, every challenge, from paying rent to getting sick, falls squarely on your shoulders. No one tells you that life feels slower, but not always in a peaceful way. Shops close early, weekends are quiet, and public life can feel empty. For people from bustling countries, that calm can quickly turn into a sense of isolation. A strange silence that's both peaceful and lonely. No one tells you how hard it is to start over professionally. Foreign degrees don't always translate. Years of experience might mean nothing if it's not Australian experience. And many migrants who were managers, engineers, or doctors back home end up working entry-level jobs just to survive. The phrase, "it's hard to break in," becomes painfully real. No one tells you about the unspoken social divide either. How locals and migrants often live parallel lives. Integration takes effort, patience, and luck. Some find community and thrive. Others quietly fade into routines of work, rent, and sleep. And perhaps most of all, no one tells you how deep the homesickness runs. You'll scroll through photos of your home country, family gatherings, street food, laughter, and realize the life you built before is now a world away. Even after years in Australia, a part of you never fully feels at home. Australia gives you safety, opportunity, and beauty, but it also demands sacrifice, emotional, financial, and social. And it's in that balance that many people begin to regret moving here. Not because the country is bad, but because the version they dreamed of never really existed.